remember making a promise to my mum that I would walk again. So I am in a lot of pain. I've got a bone condition. I'm on the blood thinners from the surgery. As you can see here, I'm bleeding now.
David is an elite endurance athlete. He holds the world record for the fastest marathon on crutches, and he competed in 17 HYROX races in a single year.
There's a breaking point to stress. There's a breaking point to anxiety.
What made you move towards it and do HYROX events, ultra marathons?
I always told myself winners always find a way. And I love that with disability as well. You can go way beyond what you think you can go. You're not defined by what you do. You're not defined by disability.
What have been the Stoicism statements that have really shaped the man that you are? What treasures have you found on the other side of the adversity? What is your relationship with pain? This conversation isn't around physical performance. It's about what's possible when you turn an adversity and you make it into an asset. So listen into this episode and let this code activate something deep within. Enjoy. Yeah, as someone who's, well, man, you're so inspiring to me, like to see what you do, how you show up in the world. And as someone who even just last season did 17 HYROX, and there's many other things that you go over. I'm really curious today to sort of understand and what your driving force is behind it, and also like how you've managed to turn your adversity into an asset.
Yeah, I think, well, first and foremost, they are so interconnected. A lot of my disability, pushing my limits, defying odds, should we call it, are all absolutely interlinked. I think it's the reason that keeps me going. It's the reason I can push through the pain of my disability. But it's more than just aiming for a finish line. It's more than just the journey of, I want to beat a record, or I want to complete a HYROX, or I want to run a marathon. Yeah, they're great goals to have, but it's the wider kind of purpose behind that. I've found that I can have an incredible kind of impact on quite a lot of people, which is an absolute blessing for me. It's like a perpetual kind of cycle of motivation. I can motivate other people, and that in turn motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing. And I think without that, it would be impossible to push through those barriers. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what keeps me going.
Yeah. So could you just go into some some detail around the condition that you have, and then also like how that is for you, how that shows up on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think in a way, I've said before, off air, kind of, I do live a little bit of a lie in some ways, because I am in a lot of pain, and I am, I've got a bone condition, which is very, very arthritic. All my bones are very misshapen, and I've just had my second hip replacement. So I've got both hips replaced now, got metal in my elbows. I'm almost like slowly becoming more and more bionic, and in a way I can't wait for every single joint to be replaced, because my original ones are kind of, on my last legs, pun not intended. But I think, it's a lot of joint pain, and I think it's like I said, I think I've been living a lie, because if I listen to that pain and if I admit that pain, I kind of have to accept it, but also not use it as an excuse. So in a way, I like to focus on the positivities of life. I like to focus on what I can do. And in a way, it's taught me to almost shut out instantly those negative spirals, which are completely normal to come into your brain. And last year, I did have probably quite a few more difficulties than I'd care to admit, I think, mainly for my own psyche, I think, because, if you start making excuses in your own brain, let alone speaking them out loud, then they become real, and then you feel like you can't do these things. So it's very powerful for me to almost keep pushing, and almost the more painful it becomes, the stronger I feel, in a weird, perverse kind of way. It's very hard to articulate that, but I think anyone who's ever pushed themselves through something difficult will probably understand what I mean. And you reach kind of a point of, mental clarity where doesn't matter what pain you're in, you can just keep going. And that comes from experience, I think. And because I'm always in this arthritic bone, the pain in my bones is something I've grown up with. It's kind of given me maybe it's a talent, maybe it's like an unbelievable kind of gift that no matter what pain I have, I can just carry on and not listen to it. So, I think in a nutshell, managing pain is my disability.
Yeah, and like I imagine, like just on the day to day, like how that shows up, where you're having to be with that pain, and then you're still choosing to go out into the world and do the things that you're doing.
Yeah, I think that choice is everything. I think there's always a choice. There's always a way to scrape the barrel. I think there's always a positive in any situation, and sometimes you have to play a little bit of a trick in your brain and like mental gymnastics, I call it, where I don't know. You can see challenges as a blessing, see pain as a blessing, and see it as a chance to get, opportunity to get stronger. But I would be lying if I said I don't think like that every day. Some days are difficult. I think I don't care what anyone says. Like if you there's a breaking point to everything. There's a breaking point to stress. There's a breaking point to anxiety. And the key is to manage that so you don't reach that breaking point. And understand that you do have limits, especially growing up, living with a disability. There are some things that you can't do. And there are some things which perhaps are too painful. And there's good pain and bad pain. And I've learned where to kind of tickle the line, where to push it a little bit and how much to push it by, but not overstep the mark a little bit, because there's no coming back from that, I think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I'd be curious to go into what life was like for you, like when like almost like life before, and then how you operate in life now. But before, so can you just share like some of the different things that you've chosen to put yourself into? Like I know we touched on 17 HYROX in the last 14 months.
I think the beauty of life is there's all ways and none. Like there's so many different ways you can reach the top of a mountain, whatever that mountain may be. And it's funny looking back now, having reached the top of quite a few mountains, like physically and metaphorically, I suppose. A beautiful kind of analogy for life, but especially like running a marathon as well. Like everyone runs marathons that are in different paces. If I look back now and I think, I fell into table tennis. Table tennis was my thing. That was my, I broke my leg playing football when I was 10. That pretty much, as we can see here, I'm bleeding now because I'm on the blood thinners from the surgery of my hip replacement, but my left leg is very misshapen. Got quite a big limb difference. It's quite a bit shorter than my right leg. But originally that was from a leg break when I was 10. So I was quite young, really. I was old enough to know what was going on, but almost young enough to have no fear in that respect. And I started playing table tennis as a bit of rehabilitation. Again, thinking about scraping the barrel of positives from perceived negative situations. Like if I'd never broken my leg, I may never have started playing table tennis, which then went on to become my profession. I played 3 Paralympic games. I was number 2 in the world. I met so many, it's beyond like medals and all that stuff. It's great to talk about achievements like that, but more importantly, it gave me a platform to like demonstrate what I was about and my morals, my virtue, pushing myself. And I'm proud that I was able to do that as a Paralympian. So yeah, like again, the wider purpose of playing table tennis, of inspiring others who were in my situation. But I didn't know all this when I was 10. I was just like growing up. I loved playing table tennis. It was an incredible sport that I could play without too many limitations. And then the rest, as they say, is history, isn't it? So yeah, it was my passion for like spanning across 3 decades. So yeah, I don't know how fast you want to fast forward, but when I eventually retired, when I was 31, was due to my hip dysplasia and my hip pain. Because there's a lot of rotation in table tennis. There's a lot of power off my right leg. So it was actually my better leg, which was my worst hip, because that bore the force of all my weight and all my twisting actions. So it's quite a relatively common injury in table tennis, but with my bone condition, it was a complete write-off. And I was playing in pain for quite a number of years, and then not being able to play anymore, that broke me, I think, which has taught me more than anything in my career as a table tennis player, I think, for sure, in terms of now looking back and what it meant, what those medals meant, what actually being able to move meant. Like, it's an absolute privilege to just go out and put your shoes and socks on and just take a walk sometimes, because I've seen, especially in the Paralympic village and the disabilities, this adaptive fitness world now, there's a world way beyond the Paralympics in terms of adaptive fitness. It's incredible. But yeah, it's definitely kept me rooted to the purpose and like the reason behind why are we doing this? Why are we on this planet? And to serve other people and help other people, inspire them. Don't really know what word you want to call it, but it definitely, whether that's table tennis, whether that's climbing mountains, whether that's running, and now maybe can see it as HYROX, which is such an inclusive kind of style of fitness that I steadfastly believe anyone can do a HYROX no matter what. It's beautiful. So I feel very blessed and privileged to have kind of wound myself around the journey of life in kind of similar parallels, but yeah, in different ways now.
It's amazing. And you're just touching on the point there where you almost like seemed like you went through this identity shift where you went from the table tennis, and then there was a moment where you said that you kind of felt a bit lost in that transition once you lost that. Like, what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, I think it definitely taught me that you're not defined by what you do, or you're not defined by disability. You're not defined by. I always thought I was a table tennis player. That was me, Dave, the table tennis player. And man, there's a whole lot more to the self than just what you do. It's definitely how you do it and what you represent. It's your response to stimulus. It's your response to challenges rather than the actual challenge themselves. Can we swear? I don't know. I'll say bad things can happen in life. Things happen. You've got to let go of that. I feel like it taught me to almost accept any situation that you're in. Once you can accept it, then you can definitely recognize the feelings and the thoughts that you're going through, and then you can deal with them. But yeah, maybe I was living in a bit of denial for a long time, thinking, I'm going to come back, I'm going to play table tennis. I can still be at that level. Whereas in reality, that path had been shut off through no control of my own. So, it took me a while to kind of get my head around that, because that was my passion for so long. That was my reason to get out of bed in the morning, a reason to push through the pain. And weirdly, I felt so much more pain and so much more struggle when I could no longer do that, because that was, that gave me the power to be able to keep going. I think being able to kind of translate that out of table tennis and into something else is probably what saved me. I always think, being able to run marathons on crutches and do these things, and just initially it was just take one step. You don't have to see the top of the mountain to be able to take the first step. One step after another, and I'd learned if I could take one step, I could take 1,000 steps. And I think it was maybe a pipe dream for me back then, thinking like I can walk for a year and a half, maybe 2 years of my life after that first, or just before that first hip replacement. And I thought, this isn't, I was in a very bad place where I thought that was my life now. I can no longer be the machine I used to be. I'm going to have to get used to watching TV in the evenings, which is, okay, nothing against watching TV in the evenings. There's got to be a balance in life, right? But for me, it was all about, becoming an animal, being an absolute beast. And I felt that if I couldn't be physically, then everything went with it. Like mentally, I became a little bit soft as well. It's so crazy how it's the mind and the body are so interlinked. So it's crazy how, just moving again, just starting, just going, and then it's kind of developed into running a 5K, running a 10K, doing marathons, doing ultra marathons, climbing mountains. It's like, if you'd have told me that back then, I might have thrown the towel in, because I think it's important to have little mini goals. I think little intermediary goals as you climb, as you get better, as you get improve and get stronger, especially coming back from surgery or anything with a disability, but also connected to a purpose, like raising money for charity and helping people. Without that, I don't think any of this would have been possible. So
how do you find that link is the difference of doing an event where you feel like it's just for you compared to doing an event which is for a greater purpose?
Yeah, I just think, well, in a nutshell, you can be way stronger, or I can be way stronger for other people than I can be for myself. I think you do have unhelpful thoughts in your brain that tell you to stop. When you're running a long way and it's getting hard and you're feeling the pain, your muscles are getting tired, you've thought those little thoughts and those little talk, that voices in your head you listen to them, man. Like, you really do. And if it was just for you, I think you would probably listen to them to the point where you might give up. Whereas if it's for other people, like, you're responsible for them. You, like I said, you can play tricks with yourself. You can, like, mental gymnastics, right? I have to do this because there's no way out. Like, there's people relying on me here. There's not that I want to say maybe you can put it in your head where it's life or death. I have to do this. Otherwise, X, Y, Z, whatever. Or I need to raise this money for these people because their lives are depending on it. And, it matters so much to other people, and it matters a lot to you. But I do think that being there for other people is so much more powerful than just doing it for yourself. And I think I felt that recently in hospital. I do think that you can spiral into bad places when you can no longer do what you like to do, or you don't know what you like to do. You're lost in life. And I do think that there are people in my life who I care about, and I had to be strong for them, and I had to do the right thing for them and let go of my own self, because, I remember making a promise to my mum that I would, I'll be able to walk again. And maybe there was a part of me that didn't believe I could. It's mad to think that now, but yeah, I promised my mum, so therefore I had to, man. Like,
And when was that
when I originally had my hip surgery, can no longer play table tennis, like, so much pain in my bones, man. Like, yeah, I'd almost thrown the towel in myself, but she never gave up on me. So that's so powerful. I think
Can you go back to that moment of what was the pain like for you on a day-to-day?
I think it comes back to the choice that we said. You always have a choice. You can either, you always accept it. It's there. You can never turn it off, but you can either listen to it and that volume of that pain is up here, or you can choose to, like, dim it down a little bit and the volume could be down here. I think you always have a choice. You always have a choice, and you have an unbelievable power over your perspective on life. Like, you can never change things that are outside of your control, but you can absolutely view them in a different way. And when you have such a control over your perspective, therefore you have a control over how you feel about them, and you have a control over your emotions even. I always think that about, like, confidence and stress and pressure. They don't technically exist. Pressure and on the flip side, confidence. Like, confidence is perceived as a good thing, right? But you're still in the same situation. You're on a start line. One race might mean a lot to you. The next race, you're on the same start line, might mean nothing to you. But you're so much more relaxed for the one that means nothing to you, because you haven't got all that stress, that pressure. Maybe your confidence is a bit higher because you're letting go of the outcome. You're letting go of the attachment to it. But it's the same thing. It's mad, isn't it? So I think sport definitely gave me it taught me how to view things you can manipulate your own brain to think in different ways. And like I said, even if it's not true, that doesn't matter. Like, if you think it's true in your head, then you have a way of, that's why I think I always say the impossible absolutely is possible, and, like, almost manifesting things into reality. I think I've got a good story from last year, which is the perfect kind of, I don't know, example of that coming into fruition, because, and I know we can probably talk about what's happening this year and what happened last year, but my big goal for many years since running a marathon has been right, I've done a marathon, I can do an Ironman. There's no reason why not. If it's humanly possible, then consider it to be within your reach, and, all the stoicism that comes with that. And that's kind of been a performance goal of mine for a while. But I didn't know if it was possible. In fact, I thought it was, I probably do think at that time when I made that goal, I thought, right, this is impossible, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. And the swim was okay for me. And with the cutoff times, the bike, so I cycle one-legged. I kind of cycle with my good leg, and then my left leg kind of trails but kicks the pedal back around. So some people say take the left pedal off, because then you get more, you wouldn't have to move out of the way kind of thing. But that little back heel, that little tap gives me such like a 1%, like over 180 kilometers. It makes such a difference. Anyway, point being, I was very far behind the time cutoff with about 50k to go. And I knew that I would have to negative split the last 50k and go quicker than the first 130k. So really, it didn't seem it didn't really seem possible, to be honest. In terms of pure science and pure data, I'd not posted those numbers in my whole training block. But every single second that hung in there, I knew it was still possible. I just thought in my head, just hang in every second. And I negative split the last 50k.
Wow.
Like I still have no idea how that was possible. I just think empty is never empty. And as long as you believe it and as long as you hang in there, then you can definitely manifest these kind of impossibilities into reality. Like there's so many instances where with my table tennis career where I was like way down, like, you know, like big comebacks, like comebacks that you don't just defy kind of all probabilities. But it happened so many times in my career where do the right thing, nothing else matters, keep believing. I always like told myself like winners always find a way. And I love that with disability as well, because there's some things you might have to do differently, but there's always a way. Even if you can't see it, even if you don't know it at that time, you enter that kind of tunnel where you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you'll just know that you'll find a way to reach that light. And I kind of thought that many times in my career in table tennis. I was like 10 love down, winners find a way, come back and win. Like it happens so many times. Like, and now when you're running a marathon and like you've done 10k and you feel like you can't take another step, but yeah, empty is never empty. Like you can go way beyond what you think you can go. It's mad. Sorry, I'm rambling on.
No, it's fascinating. Like I really appreciate you sharing, because just
pumping myself up.
No, it's awesome. I mean, when you're sharing, it's just making me think like how just inspiring it is, because everyone in their own life has challenges or a adversity, has things that they struggle with. Yet what I'm hearing here is you move towards it and you're like, hey, I'm going to turn this adversity and turn it into an asset, right? I'm going to learn from these experiences and almost like build your character through using sport as a teacher. And I think that's so inspiring. That's why I was curious about, yeah, like the pain. Like, what is your relationship like with pain during these?
It's like a friend. Like I don't tell many people this actually, but I have like an alter ego that I like to name. Like it's almost like if you label these thoughts in your head, if you give them context, then they become more real. And I call my painful, you know, the man in who I am when I feel that pain, when I listen to it and I'm struggling and I can't move, I call him Stephen. It started as struggling. I'm struggling. I'm Stephen Ruglin. Then he just became Stephen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then so I've almost, instead of him being an enemy of mine, that kind of alter ego who does listen to negativity, I just put an arm around him, man. Like it's important to realize that he's always going to be there. Absolutely. He, she, whoever you want to, like, I do think everyone should give themselves an alter ego and be like, come on, mate, you can do this kind of thing. Like, not, oh, go away kind of thing, because you can never detach yourself from that part of your brain or that part of your body. Like that, it's all like I said, there's no on-off switch. I've learned that. Whereas, yeah, the volume dial, just, put your arm around him, accept it, because once you accept it, then you can deal with it. Like it's weird how just labeling something as simple as just giving it a name just makes it feel more manageable, because it's not otherwise an arbitrary kind of, you have so many thoughts in your brain which just don't make sense, and you don't even consciously pick up on them half the time. You just feel a bit rubbish today. Yeah, but why? Or there's got to be something in there that you've not kind of addressed. So yeah, I just feel like giving it some kind of context or some realness makes it more manageable. Does that make sense?
It really does. I actually do something similar. So I really relate as you're sharing.
What's yours called?
With fear, I actually haven't given it like a name as in like character. I just call it Mr. Fear. Like I actually have different parts inside, and which was a real realization as I started to see that it's almost like these different characters, different parts have different thoughts and different beliefs that come out when that part's like in charge. So yeah, like Mr. Fear, like one of the examples would be, say, like in an intimate relationship, if I like have a fear where I just feel a bit like unsafe, or I feel like even like expressing or sharing is gonna push them away, or then I would just feel, oh, this is Mr. Fear. Like, and the way that I used to handle it was I'd be like, go away, like you're disrupting, and like this, and I'd try and push it away. Whereas then I realized that didn't really work. And actually what it needed was, those parts needed love more than any. So I'd just be like, yeah, just like welcome it in.
What's your where does Mr. Fear come out the most? What's your like biggest outside your comfort zone? Because I've obviously learned that you can be absolutely comfortable being uncomfortable. So almost seeking discomfort and actually leaning into it is a very good thing for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no,
But maybe I'm a hypocrite because there's some things that I would be petrified to. I don't know.
yeah, I feel this a lot. Like, public speaking used to be my biggest fear when I was growing up. So that was one thing that I moved towards again and again. And when it's just do the reps, the exposure of that situation. But yeah, in school, I used to go bright red like a beetroot. I'd run out of class. But lots of things. I recently learned how to skydive too. That really brought a lot of fear.
It's conquering it though. It's being able to have that relationship with your fear or with your pain and being able to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of respect for, the people who can just dive out of planes with no fear because they enjoy it or whatever. That okay, it's impressive. Not taking away what it actually is, but for those people who are petrified and still do it anyway, like,
That's awesome.
that's class.
Yeah, and I think it's class too, where there's things that may not on paper be like, this is like a crazy thing. Like jumping out of a plane, it makes sense.
It's all
like,
relative, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's
Actually, even like having a deep conversation like with someone that you love and bringing up something that's a bit vulnerable, like that can bring up fear sometimes. But yeah, it's quite kind of like diverse, but it's very interesting going there. But yeah, like I'm curious that relationship with you when pain starts to come up for you, like what made you move towards it and do like HYROX events, ultra marathons? Like what part inside of you was like, hey, I need to do this for David?
I think for me personally, purely for self, is obviously I get a lot of satisfaction out of it, but it comes from knowing the feeling of not being able to do that, knowing the feeling of not being able to walk, knowing the feeling of being in so much pain that you feel like you can't do anything. You feel like that's you done. I know that feeling. Therefore, how can I not be addicted to absolutely seizing every single second and every single opportunity to be able to move? And it's an absolute blessing, man. Like I do, and sometimes I have to take a step back and remind myself of that. Just, like I said, just being able to put my shoes and socks on. And everyone's mountains are different. Like what's become my mountains are, there's no comparison to anyone else especially within the fitness world. It's very much you versus you. Comparison is the thief of joy. I love that phrase. And yeah, I think I'm very in touch with that when I'm running past people on crutches when they may be struggling in a marathon. I never want to demoralize them, and I'm a little bit like conscious sometimes but I do want to inspire them. I do want to inspire as many people as possible, and that's an incredible purpose for me. And I can fall into the trap as well because there's levels to this game. I know we spoke about guys doing ultra marathons and running for like days on end, and it's nothing to them. So much respect for that because it takes an incredible amount of mental strength and kind of training and yada yada yada. But obviously there are some things I'll never be able to do the distances that these guys are doing. So it's to use, I love, another thing I live by is like to use these kind of things as motivation, not as a focus. And that can be used for any kind of struggle in life, I think. I'd love to people to look at me and think, oh, that's inspiring me to maybe just go for a walk today. I don't know. It doesn't have to, you don't have to go and do a HYROX again, I'm very pro HYROX, and I think everyone should do a HYROX at least once in their life, or if they're able to do a marathon, do one, man. Like you learn so much about yourself. But yeah, like I would love to inspire as many people as possible to do that, but not necessarily use it as a focus or compare, especially with disability. In terms of my circles, they're very disability focused. And I know that there are struggles in life. Like there are things that it is hard. Life is hard. I don't want to ever be out there saying, yeah, you can do it, go and do it, blah, blah, blah. It's tough. That's the point. That is the point. Like, and there's times in my life, obviously, even recently, where I have felt, oh, crikey, I want to do an Ironman this year and I can't even walk yet. Like, I don't know, like, again, use it as motivation, not as a focus.
Yeah. What I'm hearing here is you almost using these sporting events as a teacher. Like, I'm hearing so many lessons that are coming out where it's less about the thing that you do. It's more about who you become on that journey. I know that's a bit cliche to share, but that's really what I'm hearing, is there's so many lessons underneath it which you're learning about how to be with this relationship when you hit that point. It's like, I can't go anymore, and then you realize, oh, there is a bit more. It's like all of these are lessons that are learning.
It's almost like there's that Stoic quote of no wind is favorable if you don't know which port you're aiming towards, you know. Yeah, I think having a passion in life is everything. Having a reason to get up in the morning and knowing what you're aiming for. It's less about the thing, but yeah, absolutely everything about the energy that it brings you in your everyday life, for sure.
That's also, I know you're a big one on Stoicism too, so I'm curious, what have been a few of the Stoicism statements that have really shaped the man that you are?
Do the right thing, nothing else matters. I think that's just the fundamentals of life. I think there's difficulties in life. There are tough decisions, not just physically, mentally as well. And I've got to remind myself sometimes when I am struggling a little bit, just to follow the process, let go of the outcome, do the right thing. And I like to think of it as not just do the right thing, but think the right way. Nothing else matters. Because, talking about self-belief, sometimes you might be trying to trick yourself to believe something that really deep down you don't believe, and you know that it's tough. But if you day by day, kind of think the right way, positive, nip this negative spirals in the bud, even if you don't feel it, it just becomes habit, man. Like, I just think it's such a good reminder for just little triggers, oh, don't know what to do here. But sometimes a risk is the right thing to do, right? Sometimes you got to take a risk in life, but if it's reasoned and calculated, then that's the right thing to do. Then I do think, like with shot selection in table tennis, sometimes you got to pull off a worldie. Sometimes you got to. I did a diving shot in London 2012, which went viral, but technically probably looked a bit flash. But at that time, it was almost, win or lose. I've got to go for it, otherwise I'm going to lose anyway. So it kind of makes you more likely, when you let go of the outcome, to go. I think you go way further than you originally. If you'd have put an outcome focus on that would have been your limit. Whereas if you just go and do the best that you can, I steadfastly believe you more often than not go way beyond what you originally thought you would have done in the first place. Do you not agree?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So actually being in the game and doing the thing, sometimes these spontaneous things come out.
It's like you see with ultramarathon. I want to do 100k. Cool. Getting to 90, really struggling. But when it's mad how the last 5k is the easiest 5k, because you can see the finish line. Whereas if the finish line had been 150k and there was like life or death on the line, probably could have done another 50k. I mean, that's probably an extreme example. That's quite a long way, but do you know what I'm trying to say in terms of the way the brain just shuts down once you reach that perceived goal of yours, and that's your absolute maximum. Like, I just think it's fascinating. Yeah, I don't know. I think I saw that in the very first marathon I did post hip replacement. I couldn't take another step on the finish line. I literally collapsed, and I was straight onto the drip in the ambulance kind of thing. But then I look back and I think, if the finish line had been another 500 meters and whatever, I don't know, maybe I've played tricks in my brain of life or death, whether I reach that finish line, I probably could have done another 500 meters. Do you not think? I don't know. It's incredible how the brain is it drives everything, which, growing up with a disability, I love that. Like, I love the fact that it has absolutely nothing to do with the physical abilities of your body. It's just, can you take another step? Yes, go on then. And the brain drives everything. I'm fascinated by it. It's like, you can never know. So I want to talk to you and know your techniques that you play in your head, in terms of, it's like a sponge, isn't it? The brain, like, you can never saturate that sponge of mental toughness. Like, there's always a different trigger or something else to think about, which you've not thought before. And they only come when you're in the pain cave, when you're in that kind of pit of epiphanies coming out of nowhere. Like, I don't know, like, you've ever been there where you're just so in the zone that, I don't know. Sometimes I think I should take a notepad and pen when I'm doing an Ironman or something, and write all these thoughts down, because I can't remember them now. But when you're there and you're in it, it's like, wow, it's so powerful.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to hear, like, when you're in those moments of like the pain cave, the things that come up, what your interactions are like with them.
I think it's expecting that it's knowing that will come, knowing that hurdles will come, and knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. I think if something comes out of the blue and you're hit with something unexpected that really derails you, it's probably easier to throw the towel in there and then. Whereas if you're kind of ready for it, you expected it, you know that wall's going to come, you know another wall's going to come, and you can keep breaking them down. It almost diminishes their impact when they do come. Does that make sense? You take away their power when they arrive.
The expectation.
Yeah, because, I don't know, again, it comes back to Stoicism and not wishing for things to happen the way you want them to happen, but wishing for the strength to deal with no matter what happens. Yeah.
Was there a time for you before you, obviously the man you've built today with your mindset and the things that you do and the lessons which you were able to unpick, was there times before all of this where you weren't able to have this same outlook, same perspective?
I think I've learned the value of time. I've learned the value of even the smallest of wins in life and celebrating the little things. I.e., I had to have that all taken away for me to understand and appreciate it. I had to be at rock bottom to know that just taking one step is the most beautiful thing in the world. I had to learn the fragility of my bones. I had to really teeter on that precipice of, I might break right now, but that's beautiful because I'm still going. I might break tomorrow. And again, it's happened with my hip, like last year, like my hip like popped out of its joint in that Ironman, and it caused me to not complete it. I knew that might happen. It happened. And then I still carried on here. I did so many more HYROX after that. And then I did a half marathon in Malaga just before Christmas, where I was flying the first 13K and then it popped out again. And I still completed it. But okay, the time went out the window. But I don't know. It's very easy to give up in those situations. But I feel invincible because of it, because I know that now I've had the hip replacement, like it's almost a weird kind of perverse, I want my bones to break, because I know that then it's given me a reason to get it replaced, and then I've seen how powerful the comeback is. And I don't know, it's almost like now I view life as the fun bits are the bits where you're at the bottom, because you've got all the climb to go. Like, again, a bit of mental gymnastics, like probably very easy to enjoy the highs. Whereas I've learned to kind of enjoy the lows and know that this next year is going to be such an incredible comeback, like such an incredible journey, no matter what, that I'm buzzing for it. Like I feel like quite a lot of gratitude for the challenge right now. So yeah, I feel like this second hip replacement hasn't touched the sides really. It's not bothered me in the slightest, which is
incredible.
Which is quite nice. Just talking about it now and reflecting on it, like, it derailed me big time last time, like with my right leg, but this is my worst leg. It's more painful. Like, I don't know, I feel quite, it's definitely given me kind of, not that I need like the self-validation or anything, but it's given me an unbelievable confidence in my own fortress of a brain. Like, I like to think of the brain and, Stoicism, the impenetrability of your brain, and nothing can rock that, no matter what happens.
Yeah,
I think I feel it's an incredibly powerful feeling.
That's awesome. And like when you had the first hip replacement compared to this one, like what was it like to not be able to exercise as much? Like, do you find that challenging, like in the rest and recovery, or like what I'm hearing this time is you're kind of just able to handle it?
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe there's physical factors at play as well, where I've kind of become used to functioning without one leg, and especially my left leg. And I can almost crack on as normal.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough.
Because I'm not putting any weight through it. I can go on my crutches. Like, I'm probably, in terms of getting straight back into it, I'm probably the best person in the world to just crack on as normal in terms of rehab, because I can do marathons on my crutches without using my legs. I can do all these things. And I do feel like it teaches, if you want to relate this back to Stoicism as well, in terms of the advice is to be okay before the storm comes, i.e. I knew this was going to happen. I made sure I was in tip-top shape before my surgery, before the storm came, so that I do feel like 99% of rehab is prehab. Like being able to pistol squat on my right leg, being able to RDL on my right leg, being able to pick things up, being able to pretty much crack on as normal without using my left leg is kind of quite a blessing right now. So I feel like it's not really affected me too much in that respect. It's the mental side of things which is more difficult. And again, it's like relative, isn't it? There's levels to it. Like, yeah, I can't go and do and train my ass off like what I would like to, which is a little bit of a struggle for me, which is mad. If that's my biggest struggle right now, then I'm in a good place.
Yeah. And so when it was the opposite hip, then obviously it's a lot more
That was all linked
challenging.
to not being able to play table tennis anymore. Still can't pivot now. I can't put my shoes and socks on now. As you know, like there's some things I can't do, but when I had my first one done, I couldn't pivot. I couldn't play table tennis, and I was maybe measuring myself at world-class level, top 5 in the world. I was number 2 in the world. Like, I couldn't obviously go back and play at that level ever. Well, it's funny, isn't it? Arguably now I've had both done. Maybe I could make a comeback. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
So what is to come for you now? Over the next, what's your next challenge?
I've got a bugbear, like, I don't know what the phrase is, but I've got a black mark on my copybook is last year, in terms of, I don't really want to like blow my own trumpet in terms of waxing lyrical over achievements. It's all, like I said, it's what they represent. But New Year's Day last year, I knew I wanted to break the Crutch Marathon world record. I wanted to do a sub 145 HYROX on crutches, which turned into a sub 130 after I did it quite quickly. But then I wanted to qualify for the World Championships, and I wanted to complete an Ironman on crutches. And I did every single one of them apart from the Ironman. And I always feel like you are what you do, not what you say you do. And I do feel like speaking them into existence is quite powerful, like I've said before. But I do feel like if you're going to say it, then you have to be able to back that up, or at least try your very utmost to or even not try, that Star Wars quote, do or do not, there is no try. Like, you are what you do, not what you say you do. And I said I would do an Ironman and I didn't. So this year is all about righting those wrongs. Not that it was a failure. I don't like to see things as a failure, because I got a lot out of that, and I'm very proud of how far I got. But in terms of performance goal of completing it, I'd like to tick that off for sure.
Nice. What are you going to do differently to approach that this time?
Pure tactics, pure, race strategy. I learned that. So last year in Copenhagen, I took it easy on the swim, thinking that you're not going to gain much on a swim, like by going all out, maybe 10 minutes or so. And then hang on for dear life on the bike. And then by saving my, I basically naively thought if I made it to the run and I could take one step, then I could complete the marathon. Now, having learned that, I maybe need to protect my joints. It's like, I love the analogy of the bag of sand analogy. Have you heard of that? Where think of your race energy, or even life energy, shall we say, where you have a bag of sand, and each kind of attack, each kind of impact on my bones stabs a hole in the bag of sand, and it's leaking sand. You kind of want to manage your stabs, manage your energy output so that it only becomes empty at the finish line. It's like timing your energy output and all that, but for me it's about joint protection. And I think I exhausted my joints way before I needed them for the run. Like it showed, like on the cobbles I fell over a few times, like my hip popped out, like I was gone. So this time I think I would probably try and save time by absolutely sending the swim, because it doesn't really, even if I gain 5 minutes, it doesn't impact my joints on the swim, but gaining 5-10 minutes, it seems mad to think that you have to bank time for something like 10 hours in the future, but like 5 minutes or 10 minutes on a run, it seems like hours. So I think I'll probably send the early part of the race a little bit quicker, and then maybe the back end of the bike, slow it down a little bit, and then again, it all comes down to the kind of the mental game and hanging on there in the run. But I definitely need to protect my joints a little bit, which is another reason why I feel thankful for the hip replacement, because it was now or never to get it done over Christmas, to get it done now in the early stage of the year. Yes, I'm doing a half Ironman in 5 months. I'm doing a full Ironman in 7 months. Like, I had to. Like, if it came to like May time and it was just dangling on, then it would have been a complete write-off. So yeah, it's a calculated risk, right? That was the right thing to do, so let's go for it.
And when you're doing your marathon, which is the end of an Ironman, like what's it like for you? Is it like in your arms, because that's a lot of weight as well?
Yeah. So when I've previously done marathons, my arms are genuine. I'm not even like I'm not just saying this, but my arms are quite fresh. I feel like I could do 2 marathons back to back on my arms. Like, when, maybe not now, I'm not in the shape I was last summer. I've gradually been getting slower with my my joint degradation in my hip, the back end of last year. But my legs go first. Like, my arms are, I feel like once my arms go, I can go quite a bit further on them. Whereas once my legs go, that's game over. So even things like how heavy I am, like I was quite bulky going into the Ironman last year, thinking that I needed that joint protection and I needed that strength, which I do to some extent. But I think losing a few extra kilograms would be, you know, not carrying over, 180k on a bike and 42k on a marathon, like that adds up. Even 1 kilogram would be, so I'm going to go to the nth degree on like my prep and trying to be as light as possible. I don't know, arguably still don't really know the golden numbers. Like, who knows, like what's the optimum weight for strength, endurance, kind of balance? I don't know, but I do think I was a little bit too heavy last year. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, I don't know what the right answer is. I've done 1 attempt now, and I know intricately my stats, and that's why things like pacing and nutrition, and it's fun. Like, when I first started running, I thought, oh well, if you want to send a fast time, just quick as you can, start line to the finish line. But there's so, like, energy preservation, like pacing consistently, just so that you don't expend too much energy. And like, I feel like you're clock watching most of the time. It's an unbelievable amount of concentration it takes to run a marathon perfectly, in terms of when you care about time anyway. Yeah, so I feel like I'm a little bit more informed on how fast I should go, and what the golden numbers are, which for me, for a marathon, I can hold 6-minute kilometers over 10k, but then for a half marathon, I've shown that subsides around 13-14k. So I need to drop that back, even though it feels quite comfortable in the first 13k. I need to drop that back to about 7.5-8-minute kilometers, which feels, I don't know, you feel like you're on a leash and you just want to go, but it's having discipline. Like, it's hard to, I feel like the hardest thing for me is to have discipline, knowing that I want to inspire people and I want to show people how quick I'm going, but also, there's a lot of road left to go. So yeah. Have you run a marathon?
I've actually not. No, I've done half.
Come on, Sam, you got to run a marathon.
Yeah. I've done a half. No, you're making me be like, right, I need to get my ass out there. Yeah, I'm doing a half in Dubai actually soon. Yeah, in like a month's time. Yeah. They start early in the morning. Yeah. But it's when you're sharing that, it's really just making me be like, yeah, it's just inspiring in the way that you this was once a goal that was impossible.
Yeah.
And then just to see your brain tick to be like, hang on, this is a possibility here,
There's the why, but then there's the how as well, isn't there? Like,
yeah.
Then talking about heat as well, like, I struggle when it's hot because my hands sweat, I slip on the crutches. I then have to concentrate more on placement, all these things that you wouldn't think of. I have to change my grip. If I keep the same grip throughout a marathon, I get blisters like mad. Whereas if I move them about a bit and change the weight where I place the weight, I can run more where it puts more weight on my legs. I can run where it's more stress through my triceps or my chest, depending if I lean forward. All these little things, like, which I've learned just from doing it. Like, it's yeah, I don't know. I forgot to put my gloves on in Copenhagen last year. That was such a schoolboy error. But it's crazy when, like, say you haven't run a marathon before and you think, I'll do this, do that. But then when you're the back end and you're struggling and you have physical fatigue, but I think people underestimate the mental fatigue and decision fatigue. Even things like forgetting to put my gloves on, like that just seems like such a simple thing to just rectify. But when you're not thinking straight and you're absolutely empty or near empty, then you just don't think straight. You start hallucinating. It's mad. Like hydration as well. Like, so all these things are really key. Fueling. When it's down to you, when you are literally putting your body to its absolute limit, you're down to its 0.1%, then all these things are really critical, like massively critical.
Yeah. So I'm really curious, like, is all of these things that you're pushing yourself to the limit, and I hear like the undertone of the message is real inspiration. It's like you want to show others like possibility and inspire, and you're doing it for like something that's bigger than yourself. So I'm curious, like, how do you want?
But I think, can I just interject in terms
sure.
of interject? Like, there's got to be a personal, selfish reason as well. Like, you have to do it for you as well. I think I am doing it for me. And talking of inspiration, like, it's interesting because I always think the biggest, not necessarily talking about myself here, but like for anyone, like your biggest inspiration, not that it should be, because I don't think there is any shoulds in life. There's coulds, but if you can make yourself your biggest inspiration, then that's way more powerful than having someone else. Like, I do look to some of my experiences and think what I've had the strength to endure back in the day and what I've done. It gives me unbelievable inspiration for my own self to go and do these things, or even attempt, or even think about trying to do them. And I think that's quite powerful for me to have myself as, yeah, I'm inspiring other people, but I think there's like lower self and higher self, isn't there? And maybe the higher self is in that kind of intrusive, like, I don't know, like, why? Just the why am I doing this? Because that question comes a lot when you're questioning, giving up and quitting. Like, how do you carry on? And you have to be able to answer that. If you can't answer the why, then I think you'll stop. So I've managed to find quite a powerful why, real whys, external whys for other people, but also higher self whys as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that there's this driving force of the man that you're building, like, and this why there's within, like an internal why, and then also like an inspiring why of
I mean, if you can have 1,000 whys, then man, you're powerful, aren't you?
Stack it. Yeah.
So yeah,
that's awesome. So if someone was following along on your journey, like, how would you want them to feel through you sharing your life and the things that you've overcome?
I mean, I used to hate the word inspiring. You're so inspiring, because I feel like it was used as a throwaway comment back in the day. And I don't feel like, maybe that's a bit of self-reflection. I don't think I'd done anything to warrant being inspiring. And now maybe I inspire myself enough to feel comfortable being called inspiring. And I do want to be inspiring. I want to inspire people. I would love to look around and have an active community where everyone's fit and healthy and absolute powerhouses. What a society that would be. I think it would probably cure a lot of the problems in the world if everyone had that positivity and everyone kind of, all conflict was just like managed with stoicism and like understand it, and like you could, like, man, that would be powerful. And like the mind-body connection and physical fitness, like, all stems from, it's also interconnected, isn't it? So yeah, I would love people to look at me and see that. And I feel like, in a weird kind of way, like when I am, that's why I've kind of grown to accept and be comfortable with power and past people on my crutches. And before I used to feel like I was demoralizing people, whereas now I'm like, that's a reflection on them, how they take it. It's a reflection on, You know, if someone wants to call me inspiring because they can't do what I do, but if it inspires them to try and do something that they can do, like go for a walk or whatever, or I don't know, maybe I'm looking at the lower end of physical ability in terms of, and maybe disability as well, where I'd like those people who say that I'm inspiring to have actually had that impact on them, to go and do something and like empower them to do something because of seeing me. That's the true definition of inspiration. Do you not think?
Yeah, I think it's inspiring someone in the sense of you're like being like a lighthouse for them. So you're showing a sense of possibility, and then hopefully that allows someone to see it and be like, oh wow, like now I want to go up and do something similar. It's like that's
I guess you get that with your podcast. Like, I don't know, with us sitting here now, I'd love people to take something from it into their daily life and be like, wow, that's really helped me. It's really given me a positive impact. Not, oh, that was cool, that's inspiring, not think about it ever again. Like, and not have any stimulus to do or change positively in any way. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, exactly that. It's like there's a sense where I relate to what you shared there, because there's a sense where there's sitting down and having a conversation with yourself today. Like I end up learning so much, which then I end up applying into my life. It's like what great lessons that have been shared, which then you can apply into your own life. So that's almost like a selfish reason in a sense. But then at the same time, like this then gets published, it goes out into the world, and the people who are called to listen. And then, yeah, I would love that someone who's gone through the episode doesn't just go, oh, wow, that's cool. They go, oh, wow, that's cool. And
Yeah.
I'm actually now inspired to book something in that also stretches me beyond the person I am now, so that I can actually not just hear the lessons, but understand the lessons by embodiment, right? Because there's one thing listening to a podcast and you can learn, but then there's another thing going into the world and doing something yourself and learning like real life lessons. I think both are important. But yeah, so very similar in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready for this year, and I'm feeling inspired myself. Like, it's what a blessing. Yeah.
What a year we ever had.
Yeah. I'm lost in my own thoughts now of like, right, I've got all these things to do. Let's attack it. Like, if someone else can have that feeling right now, then brilliant. Like, that's what I say about like, I never want to preach. I never want to say you should do this. Like I said, you should run a marathon. I only say that because I'd love everyone in the world to experience the feeling that I felt in terms of overcoming something which you previously thought was impossible. Like, the sense of achievement is unparalleled, and the things you learn about yourself is so powerful for life. Like, I hope and wish everyone could feel that at least once in their life. So that's why I kind of sometimes feel preachy in that sense. Same with HYROX. Like, yeah, you should go and do a HYROX. Absolutely. Oh, I don't think I could do a HYROX. Yeah, I actually, I'm so steadfastly in disagreement that, whatever reason they can't do a HYROX, I feel like everyone can do a HYROX no matter what. I think that's the beauty of HYROX. It's like so adaptable and scalable, and the movements can, are enough to push limits. But yeah, everyone should do them. I'm a hypocrite, aren't I? There's no shoulds in life. There's only massive coulds, but yeah, that's one of the shoulds.
17 in a year, so you've done enough to justify. But
and you've done one with your mum, which I'm very jealous about.
Yeah, that's your goal for this.
I said to you, my resolution this year is to pester my mum enough that she will do a HYROX with me.
Yeah. Magic moment, memories. That's awesome. And yeah, at this point of the show as well, we have a vault section. So in the vault, there's a few mystery messages, and then also each guest leaves a message or a statement. And then basically we draw one, reflect on it, have a conversation around it. Also, the listeners will be able to do the same thing, or reflect of where that shows up. And then you have the opportunity to leave a message. I'm sure something Stoicism or along those lines. And then a future guest can draw that and reflect on that too.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, let's go for it. The cave that you fear most holds the treasure you seek. Simon Says Fast. Is that right?
Yeah, Simon Says Fast. So he was a previous guest. He's all around fasting. Yeah.
The cave that you fear most holds the treasure you seek. Well, I guess that's a lovely way of kind of articulating various things that we've just spoke about in terms of pushing your limits, defying your odds. Those epiphanies that I spoke about that come out of nowhere when you are up against it, when you're at the rock bottom, or when you're, reaching a point in life where you've hit that wall and you're breaking it down anyway, despite pain. That's what comes out of me, and that's an unbelievable, powerful place to be. Holds the treasure that you seek. And what comes out of my brain right now is also, you sometimes don't know what treasure is lying there at the end of that tunnel. You're in the tunnel, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like it comes to me like scraping that barrel of positivity and knowing that light and that treasure is there. You just got to get past your fears, for sure.
That's awesome. And yeah, just to one question off the back of that one would be, what treasures which you didn't know would once come out of your journey? Like, what treasures have you found on the other side of the adversity?
Simple one would be, broke my leg playing football and ended up playing table tennis. What is that all about? Well, I would never have picked up a table tennis bat, I don't think, if it wasn't for me breaking my leg, which was quite a traumatic experience to go through as a 10-year-old with a bone condition. And if that hadn't happened, the domino effect of life, I probably wouldn't be sat here speaking to you right now. It's beautiful in terms of my journey, Paralympics, disability awareness, adaptive fitness, all probably stems from a perceived really bad, negative, traumatic event in my life. So yeah, I think it's a good reminder. And I always, do you know what, I don't want to put a negative spin on this because I feel like that's quite a positive thing, but it's the nature of amor fati, in terms of loving your fate in Latin, in terms of making the best of any situation no matter what happens. But perceived good things can happen in life which lead to negative things. You might win the lottery and then go down a road which is not so good for you. So I think it's always good to have a level head in life, and you can have the peaks and the troughs, but if you stay rational and logical, and stay away from kind of feeling those emotions without control, and having control over your emotions, positive and negative, helpful and unhelpful, then it's a good place to be, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and just to actually understand deeper, like the inside of your mind it's inspiring. Like, you push yourself to pass through these comfort zones over and over again, and to hear some of the treasures and the lessons that have come out of that. Yeah, it's just been an honor, and I really look forward to continuing to stay connected, and also to seeing more of your journey, and hopefully the person who's listening in too will, be inspired, but at the same time be like, hey, where in my life can I start to take some of these lessons that I've learned today, the Stoicism that you shared, also some of the different ways that you've used sport, used these experiences as lessons to teach you things. And just pick out those golden nuggets and maybe apply some areas into their own life. Yeah.
Thanks, Sam. And thanks everyone for listening. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, bro.